Lay out the issue for us, if you will.
Hello from Chicago. It is early evening. Well, the issue is complicated because it starts with access or lack of access for a lot of people to get in the industry and stay in the industry. And there's also the player segment that doesn't seem to understand that women like to play video games too, and that, we do this because we like it and not just to like get a dude's attention or because our kids are into it or because a guy basically talked us into doing it. That we like games too, and that we also make the games that they play. And then the last part is, the very unfortunately vocal segment online that doesn't want anything but, more COD and more shoot everything and kill everything games, and can easily put that away and not think about the game again until they boot it up again, versus games where I don't get to see myself or people like my friends. And it's an all-encompassing thing, and there's issues across making the games, who's on stage at events talking about the games, and who's sitting at a console or a computer.
And so Tanya, this obviously is it's a multifaceted and multi-angle, of course, to this problem, and I would imagine there's no one quick solution to this. If you had to start somewhere, though, what's the lowest hanging fruit? Is it in the corner office of the big gaming companies? Is it sort of your whole team of developers that come up with these things? And you look at the games themselves. Obviously, you alluded to this. There's a lack of diversity there. So where do you start?
The lowest hanging fruit would probably be at the C-level and the people that are signing off and going, yes, no, we can have this character, we can't have this character. Because there's actually a good group of diverse people that make a lot of the games, but if they don't have final say on something, then no matter what they put together, it's not going to see the final version of the game that gamers get in their hands. So the other really low-hanging fruit is getting gamers to understand that putting a woman, a person of color, a queer character, a disabled character is not some agenda. It's making games reflect the world that we live in. Because, everyone games. There are so many great people that are doing work beside, what I do. I'm one person of many, but people like Able Gamers and POC and Play and other folks that are doing this work, and just getting gamers to realize that games are more than mere entertainment, that they're a genre, that there's so much to them, and that everyone deserves to see themselves reflected in the games they're playing.
Tanya, is there also still a problem with gaming culture? I mean, I remember Gamergate, right? And a lot of that was blamed on kind of the fringe of the community. But have things really improved since 2014? We've had the Me Too movement since then. Is the community itself of gamers, of the consumers, more diverse?
Oh, absolutely. The consumers of games have always been diverse, but stats that show that aren't readily available. People don't know where to look for them, because if you're not in the industry, you may not know that there's a developer satisfaction survey that goes out every year, or that the ESA puts out a report every year. And it's more and more people of color, it's more and more women that are playing. And, it's getting better, but it's moving very slowly. We're finally seeing companies go, hey, if you don't like our game, you know what, you don't have to play it. I was really happy to see Bungie tell someone that in response to them announcing that their internal black folks who work at Bungie group. And, they didn't have to announce they did it, but they felt it was important. And, people that were mad about it and just want to hear about the game and fixes for the game, they were like, if you don't want to hear this, then go follow just the game account. Don't follow the overall Bungie account. And it's getting there, but as we've seen just over the last week, 2 friends of mine have been harassed for just saying we should get a seat at the table too, specifically black women being involved in getting review units for the next-gen consoles. And people have harassed them nonstop over the last 2 weeks just because they said they want a seat at the table and misconstruing what they've said. So on the one hand, it's getting better. More and more people are speaking up. But on the other, that sentiment of gaming's just for 18 to 35-year-old white dudes still persists with a lot of people.
Right, and maybe that's where you're seeing kind of the loudest and most abrasive voices, right? So I think that sort of went to my initial point is you can make these, boardroom decisions as to what kind of a game would sell. But on the other hand, how much does there need to be more accountability and change within the culture of the gaming community itself, so that these kinds of instances of harassment aren't just something that almost becomes tolerated?
What we need to do and what game companies should do is you harass people on our platform. If you're on Overwatch, Destiny, something like that, your account's nuked. And especially, with at least if you're on Xbox, that's tied to your Microsoft account. You lose everything. They need to have penalties. They need to start actually banning people from coming back into games, coming back into communities, and showing that there's a real penalty for this harassment instead of just, oh, well, it's the vocal minority, which, I said that myself, but I don't own a game company. I have no power to ban these people from playing games. I can block them on Twitter and do other things, but the companies need to show us that for all of the Black Lives Matter statements they made in June, all the things that they did, where is the backup to that? Where are the people that are actually saying, oh, you're a racist, oh, you're terrible, and you're going to harass people who are disabled or harass people who are neurodivergent who just simply ask for representation, then you don't get to play our games. And that's from both the AAA space, indie game developers, anyone who has put a product out. You can say who gets to play your product. You can take that game away from them, especially in the era of digital gaming, because we don't really own anything anymore. So game companies need to put their foot down and just say, we won't tolerate racism, hatred, bigotry, etc.
Have they said otherwise, though? Is what I want to get to. In other words, the bigger question for me, Tanya, is when you look at what's happening, is there actually active pushback, or is this simply like many of these sort of very important issues, just a very slow-moving process? It's very difficult to turn around this massive ship.
Oh, it's definitely slow-moving, but we're finally seeing bigger companies push back. Before, I think it was Intel, they actually, they were like, oh, they fell for what Gamergate was pushing, and then they realized, oh, this isn't what this is actually about. And they turned around, they gave a lot of groups money, they did a lot of things to try to fix their faux pas, but it's moving slowly. That all started in 2014. And a lot of those people have moved on to other places, politics, for instance. But there are more and more people that are being very blatant in, we don't tolerate racism, homophobia, et cetera. But it needs to be a blanket thing. And honestly, I think for the way gamer culture to fix it is to raise it and start all over, or for there to be kind of an agreement among game companies, especially the bigger ones that have this much influence and power, to go, you don't get to play with our product if this is the kind of person you want to be, because gaming literally is for everyone. Microsoft has an initiative called Gaming is for Everyone. So why can't we live up to that? If, there's a difference between trash talk and harassment. So a lot of people go, oh, well, you just don't like trash talk, you don't like whatever. It's moving, but at such a glacial pace, I feel like we'll never get past this in like the next 20 years or even the next 15 years. So why is this still an issue?
Yeah, Tanya, I've read one report that says that over 10% of gamers have said that they've had suicidal thoughts because of the harassment that they receive whilst playing a game, right? That seems just horrendous and completely unacceptable to me. Some of those people have said that they tried to contact police and were kind of just brushed off. Is this something that needs to be tackled outside of the gaming arena? Because if you're getting death threats, or if you're getting some of these serious, what would be criminal threats being made against you, does that need to be taken into the real world?
I think so, because a lot of these things happen because, when you're on a game, someone may just be a call sign. You have no way of knowing who they are. And, I've been harassed as well, and the police don't know what to do with that. They don't understand the digital realm. They brush it off. They just go, oh, just ignore them, just block them. Or they tell people get offline, which in this era, a lot of us can't just simply go offline. A lot of what we do is tied to the internet. It's tied to gaming. And if I just simply go offline, I don't continue to do the work that I do. It's all digital. It's all online. It's all virtual. So the police need to understand that if someone goes to the trouble of finding me outside of a game or even in a game, and says they're going to kill me, they're going to dox me, they're going to do whatever, we have no way of knowing whether that is just someone going way out of bounds, or if they could show up at someone's house, because we've seen people do that.